Welcome to Attendee Tracking and Ethical AI. Please welcome our speaker, Art Borrego, Vice President of Sales and Partnership with Zenus AI. Art is an entrepreneurial leader with 20 years in event tech. Some of his innovations include the introduction of RFID tracking at events in 2004. Hopefully, you all remember that. I kind of do, a little bit.
I don't
Art
remember
co founded and
2004.
led successful, fast growing event technology startups, including taking a company to the Inc. 500 list, and has negotiated several successful M&A exits to publicly traded companies. Most recently, he joined Zenus AI as Vice President of Sales and Partnership, and I want you to sit back and enjoy what he has to share with us today. Thank you, Art.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming out and joining us in this conversation. Look forward to some of your questions at the end. So please formulate them and love to see what you have in mind and talk about it. As Tess was mentioning, I've been in the event tech business for a couple of decades plus and did a lot of work with RFID attendee tracking. And if you've been utilize RFID or know about it, can you raise your hands just to kind of, all right, there's a lot of usage of that. And so you know the importance of data analytics, understanding the customer behavior, the dwell time, and so forth. After I sold my prior company to Cvent, the non-compete expired, and I was looking at what is the next generation? Where is this trend going? We've all heard about AI, generative AI, how it's going to really impact our lives. We need to harness it. We need to manage it correctly. One of the things we focus quite a bit on is ethical AI. So it's even on the first screen here. The first is ethical AI. And we'll talk about that. There's facial recognition and there's facial analysis. So that's one of the first points I want to stress. We have like a field drive over here, facial recognition to help ease the registration process. So you can, upload a picture. When you show up to check in, your face is recognized. It improves the customer experience, but that's something that you opt in to do. Facial analysis is aggregated, anonymized, and we'll talk about that. From an exhibitor perspective, the metric that's been mostly commonly used in the past is going to be capturing leads, right? How many leads do we scan? That's a very important metric for sure, but it doesn't give us the whole picture. We've got metrics like impressions. How many people walk by? The stop rate. Something catches their eye, they stop to look. How long were they dwelling? And then what was their interaction? What was their sentiment while you were engaging with them as a staff member? If the leads numbers are low, what's the story behind that, right? It could have been low foot traffic. It could have been the staff was not engaging, or maybe the staff was too busy. We just don't know the full story there. And so that's where we'd like to come in and help create more of that bigger picture looking at data. And I do want to point out as we talk about, there's a little camera on the little counter there, but I do want to show you there's a camera on this monitor here. You see a camera looking at the audience. And then on the back side, we have this AI box. This is where the process, there's a GPU, pretty powerful GPU here with 384 cores. And so the camera is the eye feeding the video input into the AI box. We have a kit here. And in this kit, it's kind of self-contained. We have a camera, the AI box comes in here, LTE hotspot, and power. You can set it up literally 5 to 10 minutes. You have a station going, feeding the video input to the AI box. There's no there's no video that's being stored. There's no video that's being uploaded. We use a library called Fairface, developed by Carnegie Mellon, and it's a library of all different types of faces, different races, different age groups. It's a very good library, just like you know about Open or Chat GPT. It's really consumed a lot of library, a lot of data to be able to get smarter. So the AI requires some good libraries and some good algorithms, and it definitely we keep improving that. And so what we're capturing here, I mentioned stop rate, I mentioned impressions, positive sentiment, and demographics. There's no personal information that's being gathered. So all we're seeing is, are we looking at females, males, other? We can detect with 85% of the audience will either fall in male or female. 15% will be other. But of those that we're categorizing male, female, the accuracy is going to be above 95%. We're also putting people in certain age groups. We're not going to say Rolando is 27 years old. We're going to say he's somewhere, in this range, right? So we're providing some demographics. We're looking at the facial expressions. Every second, the AI box is looking at up to 150 faces 30 feet away at a 90-degree angle and can process 150 faces with 4 or 5 frames per second. And so it's looking at every individual face and giving every face a baseline, because we're capturing so many frames and looking at just resting face and looking at impressions that are occurring based on the content. And we have a booth literally right behind the stage to shows the graphs on the content. So you've done session evaluations, mobile apps or paper. The response rate's pretty low, 5-7%. What we're doing here is we're actually capturing the response rate per minute of the audience, and overlay upload the video. You can overlay and see what was being discussed and how was those topics, those keywords being received. Not just general audience, but we can also segment it. Okay, we did great general audience, but what about with females? What about with the males? What about those that were below 40 or above 40? Works great with political campaigns, right, where they have the speakers, and are they resonating with a certain age group and so forth? The same with marketing events, right, or face-to-face events. And there's so much talk about the return on the engagement, the return on experience. We've all heard about ROI for the longest time, right? Maybe the lead capture leads is great with ROI and cost per lead and so forth. But when we're looking at building these experiences for people, which the world is becoming more experiential, how do we quantify the experience other than looking at the facial expressions and the sentiment? We did, I'm going to use a couple of case studies here to kind of drill down and show some real world usage. This right here is a company that's come out with a VR headset, very big company. You guys know who they are. They had a couple of booths. One of them was for their virtual reality headset. Another one was for more consumer devices at a regional event for a reseller, a big consumer electronics store, and the sales staff that work in these stores. And so they had these booths for this audience, and we were monitoring. There was 10 kits. I showed you what the kit looks like. So there's like 10 stations per booth. So there's 20 total, one in one booth, one in the other, to look at the interaction with different stations. And there were some interesting observations that came out of the 6-month engagement across a number of events. Some activations were, the traffic was really low. There was no interest so much in those demo areas. So the traffic was low. The number of impressions was low. Others, we had an activation where they were underutilized. Low number of demos, and we do a lot of benchmarking, and our reports and our dashboards will show how did this station, this demo area, do compared to the other demo areas. So you could do almost like A/B type testing, right? We set up this demo area, what kind of traffic and dwell time activations. We noticed on one of them, the last bullet there was some demographic bias. Well, what does that mean? Well, with this headset, you can there's games like in-home exercise games, right, where you can play around and exercise. Well, we saw that it was mostly women coming to this demo area and looking. We're just getting data, right? We're converting the faces into data. We don't know who they are, but we know that it was mostly females coming to this demo area. We talked to the customer, the agency, like, we're noticing this bias. Is that intentional? No, it's not intentional. Well, what's going on there? Well, this demo area, there was a yoga mat and a yoga ball. Okay, well, that's gonna pull in more females because it's yoga, more females. Do you want to have more of a mix between male and female? Yeah, we do. But then you need to adjust it so that it's more inviting also for males. And little adjustments like that, better usage of the space. We were also able to help them towards the end because there was, I mentioned there's booth and station performance that we provide benchmarking. We were able to help design the booths better to be able to have higher number of demos. We actually, by the end of this engagement, they were generating through 294% more demos than initially. That's like 3x the number of demos by better utilizing their space. This is a sample dashboard. As you see, we call this the booth funnel. At the top, you're going to have the number of impressions. How many people were walking by your demo area, your booth? You're going to have that top line number. And then we have the stop rate. The stop rate's going to be of, say, 1,000 people that walk by, what percentage of the audience were walking by and something catches their eye and they stop to look and they're looking at your booth and looking at this product demo. That's the stop rate. Now that's an opportunity for me as working in the booth to engage and invite them and ask them what they're looking for, and that's where we begin this conversation, the dwell time, and the sentiment begins to be captured, right? Like, what was the level of interest of this individual? And we're doing that also by hour, by station, and that can help quite a bit with building a better experience. Looking at the demographics that were stopping by, and even the staff, right? Was the staff saturated or were they engaging? You can look at that. And of course, the bottom of that funnel is going to be how many leads were captured. So it really builds this really good picture. And then on the right side, we have a benchmark to say, okay, how well did I do with this event compared to my prior events? Am I equal to the benchmark, above the benchmark, and how well did that event perform? We can then look at drill down. We have the high number with the booth funnel, but we can drill down to see leads per square footage or demos per square footage by day, by hour, really to look at that engagement of that activation and determine how well did it perform. A lot of this also applies to the sponsors, right? If you're involved in working with sponsors and they paid $20K, they paid $25K, $50K for an engagement, giving them numbers so that they can go back and justify and keep doing it or improve it, or maybe cancel, right? And apply their budget in something that's going to give them a better ROI or ROE on that experience. Things that some of the actionable items that come out of these reports are going to be maybe we need to increase the number of stations, right? Because we're not getting the number of demos, or maybe these are too saturated, so we need to increase the booth size. We need to increase the staff size, and we'll have a quick little case study what happened to us at some of these industry shows that we do. The decor, I talked to you about that bias, so that demographic bias. Decor has a lot to do with that, and maybe dropping some of the activations or investments and applying that in something else. So for this, the one that I shared with you with the VR headsets, there were 2 booths. One of them was underperforming, so some of the data came back, says, we're not showing the good performance there. They dropped that booth, saved $100K expense on that one big booth. Our cost was $15K for the monitoring. The pricing on these is pretty darn low. It's $850 per kit, per event or per month. You can deploy multiple events, and we have partner pricing, so the partners can resell it or implement it, or they're in the analytics arena, be able to take the data and work with clients to give them the insights and use the data more appropriately. I mentioned that we increased the number of demos for this case study by 294%. Looking at the costs and the savings and the number of additional demos, we came up with a number of like 14x on the ROI for that investment that they made with us. We had an event here in Las Vegas last year where we were capturing 20 leads a day in our booth. We looked at the data, we looked at the number of staff that we had, and we said, if we had more staff, we really could have done more demos and captured more leads based on the data and the traffic that we had. That's exactly what we did. Next event, we actually increased the staff and increased the leads based on numbers, right? Analytics. Here's another leadership conference that we did for a Big 4 accounting firm. It was a leadership conference, invitation only, of CEOs, 2,500 CEOs, beautiful interactive expo area, or more experiential area. And there was a number of 5 areas with 8 demos per area, and we had multiple stations to be able to get different angles of which of those demos were stopping some of those CEOs, because it wasn't one of these where I scan badges. It's high touch. So it's we had a gentleman from Google here with us yesterday. Panos, our CEO, co-founder, was having a conversation with them, and Ryan from Google mentioned it's unobtrusive observation. I love those words. It's unobtrusive observation. That's what I really liked about RFID as well. It's unobtrusive with the chip on the badge and all the equipment. Only it's very expensive to deploy RFID, as many of you guys know, and we don't get the sentiment. So here, it's unobtrusive observation. Only thing is we are not capturing the identity of the person. We're capturing demographics, right? But we do have a QR code badge scanning solution where it's the same technology. Now it's set up so that the AI vision, instead of looking at facial analysis, it's doing the QR code vision, and it reads a QR code, deciphers attendee ID, captures that. So that's great for lead scanning. It's also great for attendance. So you can then see who attended a given session and what was their reaction as a group and by demographic. So in this case, we were able to provide the CEO of this, or the senior executives of this Big 4 firm, hard numbers on the estimated number of unique visitors per station, the dwell time, hard data to sponsors. It was very expensive to participate in this event. Being able to provide activations and understanding the demographics of who was stopping by, very good metrics that were provided to them, and then sharing with them that this data, next steps, right, making it actionable to say, okay, what are the next steps based on this data that came in? How do you follow up with them? Next event, they want to add the QR code scanning so that these attendees can. You're not having someone with a handheld scanner. They're interested. They're going to go up, scan their badge, and walk away. They've already kind of requested information on that demo area or that technology that's being shown there. I mentioned here, out of the box, we provide this in a kit. No video is being stored. No video is being uploaded. So what that results in a huge bandwidth reduction, because we're taking the video, converting faces into data, and only moving data up. We're not moving video, so we're going from gigabytes of bandwidth required to 1 megabyte per hour of data going up per station to the server. It's also reducing a lot of the cloud savings from a storage and processing, right? If you're having to do the GPUs up in the cloud, do the processing, it's all being done locally. So it's edge AI, and then we're moving just the data up. I mentioned the accuracy, but we're only able to say, okay, 85% of the audience is male, female, 15% may be other, but those that we categorize are going to be high accuracy. And no biometrics are being captured. From a privacy perspective, legally, attendees do not need to be notified that cameras are being used. Typically, as you come in, there's a sign that says cameras are in use. Ethically, we recommend that in the registration form, people are notified, or when they come pick up their badge, there's a placard that says facial analysis is in use for sentiment analysis to create a better event. Just make them aware so that there's no issues later. Like, hey, you guys didn't tell me that. Like, well, personally, we don't know who you are. It's an unobtrusive observant that doesn't know your identity, but we do recommend making it known that, just create that awareness. Okay, so we're booth D7 right across here. Now I'm opening it up so that we can have a conversation, and I bet I see a lot of smart people, a lot of smart faces, and I know you've got some great questions. So, here we go. Great question. Okay, so from a data perspective, there's the data that's being moved up is going to be the station, which is what station are we capturing data from, the timestamp, and then we're looking at male, female. So every face is going to be getting a score. I mentioned 4 or 5 frames a second. So we're capturing that. Everybody gets their baseline, and there's a sentiment score, 0 to 1. So happy, very happy is going to be closer to 1. And so we're moving every 30 seconds per phase, we're moving up this 0 to 1 score, male, female, age group, and the timestamp. And so that's the raw data and also the pixel size. So the closer you are to the camera, the bigger the pixel size. So your face is going to be bigger. So we can then determine based on the pixel size how far you are from the camera. We will capture the data, but give you the ability to say, I want to filter people that are 30 feet out. I just want to see those that were 5 to 10 feet away. That's more like a certain area within this demonstration area. So that's the data that's going up. And we're creating these dashboards. We have these reports, but we also have an API so that if you're inclined, you have a tech team, you can pull the raw data into your specific dashboards as well. And from the dashboards themselves, you can export a CSV file from the different graphs that they're being shown. I'm going to put on the headset now because I was told that that's how I can hear your questions is by putting on this headset. All right. Keith is going to pass out the microphone. You ask a question, I'll be able to hear you through the headset. All right. Anyone? It always takes the first one. And I know you guys have some questions, and I'll be around here as well if you want to ask more one-on-one. But for the sake of the other members, if you want to ask in the audience, that way, others can also get the answers.
Hi, I organize a lot of low light events. How does the lighting
great question.
event with that?
Great question. Okay, so originally, I placed the camera here with the AI box. There's a light that's pretty bright here, and that was just like with a human eye, right? When I can't see you, the camera with the light won't be able to see you either. We moved it. That's why we moved it over here. We may be a little bit more biased to this side of the room on your left, but that's avoiding the glare of that light. But if this side of the room feels a certain way, there's a high correlation that this side of the room is going to feel the same way, right? It's just statistically, this might be a good representation of the audience. And so we took that decision to say, let's move it over here. We won't get such a broader view, but this is going to be statistically represented. So sorry, guys, we're not looking at your faces. These guys are kind of giving us from a reporting perspective. Now, to your question, Rolando, when it's dark, the camera could actually see, and it really depends. These are 2K cameras, but we do have 4K cameras that, and anyone we've got a doc send, we package all the pictures, deployment pictures, sample sandbox, videos, to be able to show a lot of the content and share that with you. So we're happy to, after this session, or if you come see me, take your information and share a link with you that has videos, deployment pictures, sample sandbox of reports. But you'll see that it does pretty well in low light, but it does also depend on the camera that we're using.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Congratulations on Zenus. Seems pretty great. So I realize you have a hardware component now, but I'm curious, can the technology be leveraged through other event tech platforms that are doing visualization? So anything else that's capturing or running a camera down the line, or already is there an opportunity to leverage the technology inside of other applications?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for us to scale, we really depend on partners, and we try to make this technology easy to deploy so that we don't send people on site. We don't need to send people on site. Some of you here remember that we had a big team of members coming in to set up the RFID, because we can't ask the customers to set up the RFID equipment. This definitely can be set up, and that's the way it's designed to have resellers. Freeman is there was a big announcement early April. Freeman's reselling our kits to these big booths so that they can then become consultative to the accounts, right? These enterprise accounts with huge booths to be able to provide, just like I mentioned earlier, this station here is biased to a certain demographic. We need to modify it a little bit to get more consultative. We do have through the API, it's going to be every 30 seconds, the data is being moved up. So a 1 minute delay potentially in max. If you're pulling the data through an API, you can create a more responsive environment to whoever's there. I didn't talk about adaptive content. Adaptive content is, and we're deploying that here this week for Informa at a CPHI pharmaceutical event. So that screen right there with the camera, we could actually load videos in this AI box. So we can actually load videos, and based on the demographics of the person that's there, load up adaptive content to that demographic group, to that age group. We're also doing it with a QR code. So doing the lookup, and the camera is like a scanner with the AI, and then bringing up the appropriate content for that person that might be there. It can control LEDs, lights, or so forth. So really, it can create more of an immersive or experiential environment. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna hang out here a couple of minutes, and I'd love to chat with you afterwards.